Welcome to the why, what, and how-to of whitetail scent behavior. In this video, we take you over the shoulder of research biologists and of hunters.
Come through? Yeah, came through it. Yeah, right at the bottom. Pull right through the heart.
From the mountains of Pennsylvania to the river bottoms of the Mississippi, you will witness several explicit kill scenes with bow and with gun. Actual deer responses will be shown as we follow Alan Altizer and Bob McGuire on several fair chase hunts. Our hunt starts in Mississippi on Woodstock Island with Alan Altizer filming Bob McGuire. McGuire had removed his coat shortly after daybreak and was looking down at two feeding bucks. After an hour of deliberation, these deer had finally stepped out into the open, and McGuire was positioned to shoot. Looking again at the shot, we see McGuire's arrow was high over the mark. Perhaps this is why McGuire spends most of his time behind the camera. McGuire and Altizer were experimenting with various synthetic scents in conjunction with a research program at East Tennessee State University, where McGuire serves on the adjunct faculty. Note the rubber gloves and boots. These hunters were extremely careful of human scent. Opening the small encapsulated tube, Altizer deposited an interdigital scent trail leading to a scent post. Note that the scent drag skips along the ground, leaving an intermittent ground scent, just like a walking deer. This simple hunting technique involves dragging the foot gland scent of a walking whitetail over to a location at which a scent post is prepared. Altizer then placed a fresh urine scent on this tree. Any passing deer, then, should be attracted to the tree and stop to smell the scent post. McGuire is now filming Altizer from a second tree stand in the same tree. On Woodstock Island, there were too many deer, and these bow hunters were prepared to harvest any adult whitetail, buck or doe. Over the next few hours, several deer appeared interested in the scent trail. Finally, a young deer followed the scent trail directly toward the scent post. This adult doe then followed. She suspected nothing more than the previous presence of deer. McGuire zoomed the camera back as the doe walked behind a tree, and Altizer, selecting his best shooting opportunity, released an arrow at the precise instant the doe walked off camera.
Is that her to the right? Yeah, I got it. Good shot. Don't move. Don't move. You're shaking the stand. She was off the camera when you shot. Could you tell? Okay. Yeah, I know. Don't move. I should be able to get the top one. Oh no, we're running out of film and battery.
Allen got off a clean lung hit. The doe dropped gently to the ground and soon expired.
Can you see it? I've lost. What? She was still nosing.
After lowering their camera gear, Bob and Allen walked over to recover the doe. The small tuft of hair at the hock location is the tarsal gland. Normally relaxed and barely visible, the tarsal gland hair was flared at her moment of death. This behavior is common when whitetails are traumatized or alarmed. We go now to the University of Georgia, where Bob films biologists at work. Watch as doctors Larry Marchington, Carl Miller, and graduate student Matt Knox extract scents from an estrus whitetail doe. Several samples are taken from different areas of the reproductive tract. Cotton swabs and an aspirator are used. Listen now as McGuire discusses the research with these biologists.
Lip curl behavior is really thought of by most hunters as the mechanism by which a buck assesses the estrus status of a doe by sampling urine.
Yes, in white-tailed deer, a buck will often investigate the urine of the doe, and it's hypothesized that this investigation is used to assess reproductive status of the doe and be able to predict which does are about to come into estrus.
About to come in, that means he may not be able to distinguish that she is right at estrus, but perhaps could favor an area wherein he detects a doe that is about to come into estrus.
That is a hypothesis that we are presently considering.
Yeah.
In other species, researchers have severed the nerve connection to the vomeronasal organ, which is used in fleaming, and found that the ability of the male to detect an estrus female has not been impaired.
However, it has been found that when the sense of smell was deactivated, it did impair the ability of the male to tell when the female was in heat. It is obvious, however, that several different kinds of stimuli are involved, including visual.
Most hunters believe that estrus urine contains that magic ingredient that bucks smell, but I guess the problem's a lot more complicated.
The attractant could permeate the entire physiology of the animal. There may be many sources of a scent.
One of the possibilities we're looking at is cervical mucus. It may be even more complicated in that there may be bacterial or enzymatic interactions to make the scent effective.
Is the mucus only present during estrus?
It's increased in much greater quantities around estrus.
Yeah.
Does it change at estrus?
Yeah. We suspect that it does have a different composition during estrus.
Although many hunters believe that estrus does discharge blood at the time of and shortly prior to behavioral estrus, it is apparent that there is no such discharge at that critical time.
put a little betadine solution around here also, since we're going into a sterile environment, into the urethra.
McGuire himself had sometimes collected bloody snow or dirt, presumably from does in heat, until the biologists explained that such discharges normally occur after behavioral estrus. Matt Knox will now extract estrus urine through a catheter tube.
Coming?
The doe had recently urinated and produced very little urine. Note the clear nature of the actual estrus urine.
Now, it's relatively clear. It turns dark when it sits out. If you were to leave it sitting out for 10 minutes, it would begin to turn dark due to just a breakdown.
So the breakdown is almost immediate. Does it break down more readily, estrus urine?
This footage was taped at another time and shows the amount of urine normally collected by the biologists.
Well, I think any urine will turn dark.
The light yellow color you see here is probably as dark as these biologists have ever observed.
Yep, so that's it.
How long does it take for any urine to start smelling of ammonia?
Well, that's a relative thing, I would think. Of course, see what we do, we super freeze it, and it will stay clear for, for years. And we put it in, what, 60 below?
Minus 70 degrees centigrade. Immediately, it's usually frozen within 10 minutes from the time we collect it. This was just a shot of ampicillin, which is the antibiotic to keep them from getting urinary tract infections. That's all we need to do here.
Somebody could go off the catch camera or something like that.
Don't make sure you get everything out of the way that you don't want to jump on.
Yeah, if you just let her up, she'll just stand up real easy. Get behind the door. When she comes out, just close the door, walk her down the hall.
Is everybody ready? I'm gonna take her thing off here first. All right. Okay. Count 3 before you let her get up. All right. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Walk her down this way, Tom.
Yeah, she looks none the worse.
Following the catheterization, a vasectomized buck was allowed to enter the pen in order to verify that this doe was in estrus. Her receptivity is a true indicator that she is, in fact,
Very common
in heat.
doing that, where they nuzzle their side like that. The buck tending them like that.
Pin pressure now. He's obviously in heat.
Although the complex estrus puzzle is far from solved, these biologists, as scientists and as hunters, consider it possible that fleeman, or lip curl behavior, might serve to alert a buck to a doe's impending estrus. Fleeman, however, does not appear to be necessary in distinguishing estrus does, and the response of a buck to any fresh urine appears the same to human observers.
That's great. Congratulations. Well, listen, I appreciate the scent.
We go now to Tennessee, where Alan Altizer is collecting interdigital discharge from a buck. This mature whitetail was harvested by hunter Luther Fuller as it followed a scent trail to a scent post.
I moved back down.
We're doing trailing scents, and we think the trailing scent's transmitted by this gland. It's the interdigital gland. And we've noticed a change in the constituents of the interdigital during the rut. It becomes darker. And we've got a nitrogen tank. Let me grab it. And we keep this stuff in liquid nitrogen so it doesn't break down. And we have it analyzed through the universities we're working with. It's an ongoing part of our scent projects. What we do, we take the interdigital and we take these little swabs we have, just reach in there, and things are made a lot like bobby pins. And you can just reach back in the gland and pull it out, and there's the interdigital.
There's the wax.
Yeah, you see it there. It has a very peculiar smell. Place it in these sterile plastic vials. We can't use glass there, nitrogen. We cork it. Here. Now it's sealed, and we place it, get the grass off it, we place it on these holders like this and place it in liquid nitrogen. So that's what we'll do.
Ironically, this deer was actually killed while it was following a synthetic scent developed through the same research program for which Altizer and McGuire were collecting these glandular discharges.
My goodness.
Scent, the detection of odors, is the primary protective sense of whitetails. Even this young fawn exhibits a natural curiosity and alarm response similar to adult whitetails. Deer of all ages will readily follow ground scent for a variety of reasons. Although most of the immediate deer responses viewed by hunters are due to the curiosity of the animal, there are some specific odors which appear quite important to whitetail. Does will commonly lick the tarsal areas of their young fawns, leading some researchers to speculate that the doe might be imparting her own personal identifier scent to her offspring, allowing for easy recognition later.
That deer definitely had interdigital discharge.
A little less than 3 weeks old.
Through a research program involving East Tennessee State University and nearby Bays Mountain Park, McGuire and Altizer have collected and analyzed discharges from the interdigital glands of many white-tailed deer in order to compare the compositions of different age deer and at different times of the year. Although the basic interdigital discharge composition always includes the same several short-chain fatty acids, gas chromatograph results are leading to an improved understanding of composition differences unique to dominant rutting bucks. But what does all this mean to a deer or to a hunter? This mature buck is following a ground scent trail deposited by Bob McGuire. Hunters must be extremely careful of their personal human odor, as even the best scents cannot overcome the damage done by leather boots or clothing which comes in contact with brush or grass. Long scent trails should probably be avoided, as it has become apparent that deer will follow a trail backwards just as readily as forward. This buck is actually walking in the opposite direction from which McGuire had deposited the trail some 1 hour earlier. Note the relaxed response as the buck merely ambles along, aware of nothing more than the apparent previous presence of another deer. Here again, a lazy trailing fashion, relaxed yet deliberate. Strategic placement of a fresh urine scent post, in this case a puddle on the ground, can actually cause a buck to turn sideways, positioning him for an ideal bow shot. We go now to Mississippi, where Bob McGuire films gun hunter Tommy Vesey at daybreak as Tommy deposits a scent trail along these woods. Once again, the hunter may use any kind of sealed drag, clean rag, or boot pad. Drags should be tied to your rubber boot, as demonstrated by Altizer. Veazey is now preparing a scent post by squirting fresh urine into a puddle. The hunters would have full view of this scent puddle from their tree stands far across the field. The interdigital scent trail, actually an encapsulated synthetic mixture, led along the far woods, from a trail entrance to the scent post to the tree stand. Deer which emerged from the woods should immediately follow this trail toward the hunters instead of feeding directly out into the field. This video documents the actual events of a fair chase hunt. The deer are not confined or baited and have been hunted for several weeks during the regular Mississippi gun season. This doe and fawn first inspected the urine scent post, then continued on, following the interdigital ground scent some 250 yards across the open field toward the hunter and the camera. Watch carefully as the doe follows the general trail with head up and drops her nose to the ground occasionally to reference the exact scent trail. This, then, is what the hunter wants, a relaxed trailing response as the deer merely looks around for another deer. Her response was immediate, but not alarmed. She eventually spotted McGuire and his camera. Slowly moving away, the doe still did not snort or run. It was some 30 minutes later when the buck arrived. Along he came, following the ground scent to the scent post. The buck took a prolonged interest in the scent post until Bob McGuire, behind the camera, gave this hunter a green light to shoot. In slow motion, you can see the buck drop his nose again at the exact location where Tommy had changed direction to walk across the field toward his tree stand. The .270 caliber bullet entered in front of the left shoulder and passed out directly through the far shoulder. This buck was recovered some 200 yards away. Watch carefully on the split screen, and you can see the buck's interest in the exact locations where the hunter had previously deposited scent or changed directions walking. The large tree in the background will serve as a landmark. It is now springtime in Minnesota, where Bob McGuire joins veteran bow hunter Bob FRATZKE at a mock scrape in FRATZKE's favorite hunting area. Several trophy bucks have dropped to his arrow at this location.
This is a great area. Here's the branch I put up, Bob. As you can see, I just nailed it up there. I cut off a fresh branch and I nailed it up there.
So you then provided the most important part of the scrape to the bucks, the overhanging branch.
Right.
It's your branch. That's a very good idea.
In this particular area, there were no branches. As you can see, as we're walking in here, they were all chewed off. And this here buck here, he actually broke the branch himself.
And worked the ground.
I did not use any scent on the ground at all. This was a dry one, and it seemed to work pretty well.
But the branch, did you move the branch from an existing scrape, or was it a branch that was just the right size and shape that you nailed up there?
It was just the right size and shape. In fact, I took it off the top of a tree.
I see. A lot of people don't understand that high canopy or growth inhibits low growth, and there just are not that many good scraping or marking opportunities in deep woods for the bucks. I've tried to decide long ago whether it was the scent or the setup that was most critical, and I'm in agreement with you. It is the setup. Did you open the ground scrape in this case?
All I did is come out here. I always wear rubber boots like this, and I just took the ground a little bit and opened it up a little bit, and that's all I done.
So you gave the physical appearance and the marking opportunity, but no scent.
Right.
In many instances, I have set out scent without any physical appearance on the ground. I don't sometimes open up the scrape, but I give them the branch and I set the scent out. And in fact, get all the bucks in the woods looking for a 30-foot tall invisible estrus doe. I get them to note the occurrence. They'll remember, apparently, the bucks and the does, where they encounter the most profuse estrus scent. And if there's a good marking opportunity, they normally come back to take advantage of it. And this is a good marking opportunity. I have no doubt that it was a good hunting opportunity for you this last fall. Let's take a look now at another opportunity, a specialized hunting opportunity.
Okay.
And here we are at an ideal licking branch location. And we're going to make what I like to call the liquor set. Drooping from great height and alive. That's a great idea, putting up a branch that you've cut, perhaps from over another scrape, to retain the pheromone from the forehead during the rut. But here we have another option. Why not just tie it upon itself? And there isn't anything to it. Live branches that need not be replenished every year by the hunter, just tie it against itself so it droops downward from great height. Gives the bucks that unusual, ideal marking opportunity.
What would you say is a proper height, Bob, for the droop?
I've seen bucks stand on their back feet when they had to. That's pretty good.
Okay.
That's about a standard height for me. I'd say I'd have it anywhere from here up to perhaps head level for a person. Sometimes the bucks have to stand on their back feet, and one of the best hunting opportunities I look for is when the bucks are required to stand up, jump up even, to grab the branch and pull it down, where there are nearby alternative lower marking opportunities. That branch, that ideal one that they've nibbled back generations of bucks, is so strongly preferred, all the bucks share it, even when there are nearby apparently good-looking alternative marking locations. That's a hot spot that can be scouted for successfully at peak activity times such as April, right now, in southern Minnesota, and then hunted in November or before the rut.
Okay. What about, I think this is a great idea with the olive cord, because for two reasons. The deer don't see it and people don't see it.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised the guys that would walk right past something like that.
Or hang up on it.
Yeah.
The dark colored cord is ideal. I agree. I think that the biggest danger in finding my mock scrape sets, and yours I'm sure, is children. You can take the best half a dozen bow hunters in the country and turn them loose in the woods. They might find half of our sets. You take a pack of Cub Scouts and turn them loose, they'll find every one of them. That's why I usually wait until Labor Day weekend to put out my mock scrape sets. The liquor sets, such as this, have to be placed during the peak activity time when the kids are yet in school. And of course, since they'll be out all summer, there's a danger they'll be detected by the children. But that's the risk we must take.
Well, Bob, I just can't wait to try out these liquor sets someplace else. I'm going to go over in Wisconsin and try them out. And all during the summer here, summer months, I'm going to monitor this one.
I think you'll be surprised at the activity. They should be dancing here pretty soon. This has made the greatest difference in my personal trophy hunting success. I really enjoy seeing the bucks take over this natural live branch with their summertime licking. And in my experience, it has provided my best hunting opportunity before the rut, before the scrapes open beneath here. I'm looking forward to your success stories too.
Okay.
Liquor sets, the new trophy buck hunting technique. Natural licking branches can be quite difficult to locate, since only a few of the marking branches, which overhang scrape locations, are actually licking branches. Summertime is the easy time to locate licking branches. And now in Ohio, with veteran wildlife photographer Chuck Blueball, we learn how to identify these buck licking locations.
This is really a good location. So they normally do not work the ground that much, even during the peak of rut.
I usually just see a few chunks of sod tore loose, and they'll usually get to the ground, but they very seldom will they make a bald spot on the ground. You can tell the ground's been roughed up, but that's just about all.
Well, there's some activity on the branches. There's no doubt of that.
Well, they sure use them. About every buck that comes through here comes by this and seems to want to stop and another one rub the foreheads on this overhanging branch.
Would you say that this is a good location if you were a hunter to hunt a buck, even though the ground scrape may not be noticeable? The bucks do come here frequently?
Oh, gee, it really attracts them. It's very good.
I think that's one of the notable features of a licking branch. A lot of people think that the biggest scrape, or a scrape way in deep woods, is the one to hunt during the peak of rut, and that's not necessarily true. A lot of times the best scrapes are small, and the best locations are right along the edge of a woods, like this licking branch.
This is the best place that I have found in this area. Anyhow, they work it the same way that they do in the fall during the rut, except that they don't do any scraping in the summer.
This is near the northeast corner of an open area, and it's alongside of woods. It's fairly characteristic of the area, the type of area that I find licking branches, and I can see some activity coming through there. I believe they're working it, but there's only one way to prove it, and that's this.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to
Can you show me exactly the branches that you've photographed in the past, the bucks working?
It's hard to be sure. These are the branches, these two here, this one and this one in particular, seem to be the ones that they use the most.
So the ones without the leaves on, I suppose that means they've nibbled the leaves off. And we're not touching them now because we don't want to do anything that'll mess up that chemical message, the signature. I consider this a deed in trust with the ownership established in the chemical signature, that complex chemical signature on the branch tips. It may be the saliva. It's summertime now, and what we're going to do is build a tracking pit so you can come back and check this on a regular basis and verify that it's receiving the kind of attention from all the bucks all of the time that we think it is. So let's stir it up a little bit under here. Just sort of expose the dirt. It's not a mock scrape. A lot of people have picked up on mock scraping techniques since we started talking about it a few years back. All we're doing here is building a tracking pit, pulling the dirt back, doing a better job of it than you say the bucks do. But we're going to give you a way to monitor the activity. Just look for the footprints here. So this is really all there is to it. Just build a tracking bed. Sometimes you have to moisten the ground. If it's dry, it won't pick up the footprints too well. I really enjoy digging up the ground and trying to see if it's really getting the attention that we think it might be. It's in an ideal location. I've hunted many spots just like this, in different spots in Ohio. And boy, it won't take long to determine if you're getting more than just pass-by occurrence here. Those bucks will come up to these branches and they'll just address the tree trunk usually like they're looking in the woods and just get up here and go work them all over. I believe that's probably the branch right there.
Yeah, I broke this one off a little bit and they appear to be working on the one here right beside it. And anyhow, they work it the same way that they do in the fall during the rut, except that they don't do any scraping in the summer, but they go through the same motions of licking and nuzzling and rubbing their forehead scent glands on these overhanging branches. It seems, these two right here.
This location on the edge of a woods against a big open area is often overlooked by hunters. They think that any scrape along a border or boundary, woods to open, is not really that huntable. That is, won't be revisited that often by bucks, but I think we know different in this case. A licking branch location is the hot spot for hunters to look for. Early on, a buck might pause on the edge of a woods, and just inside of the woods, at the west end of a woods typically, against an opening, he may stay in the cover as the other deer feed out in the early evening, and because he's afraid to commit to the openness, while he's starting to perhaps tingle of the rut sensations, he may scrape a little bit without worrying about the branches and may thrash brush, rub trees. A lot of people find that early season sign and have learned that the west end of a woods adjacent an opening may have some sign that looks good but is non-huntable, so they tend to overlook those few gems like this licking branch location that may appear similar in the same type of a setting, but is a really, really hot spot to hunt.
We now go bow hunting in the mountains of Pennsylvania at the archery camp owned by Bob Folkrod. When asked about the unusually high bow hunter success at his camp, Folkrod gave his usual simple response.
Probably apples. Apple trees, eh? That's the best thing we got going.
Apples and more, much more. The bow hunters at this camp enjoy expert guidance in a beautiful mountain backdrop.
Hey!
Daily practice from a special camp tree stand or in the woods served to fine-tune these hunters and their equipment. Folk Rod's portable tree stands are often placed in the area of old apple trees, but there is more to the effort than merely locating natural apples. Believing in personal cleanliness, this veteran bow hunter utilizes naturally occurring scents. Although it is probably impossible to totally mask the human odor, pine needles may provide that little extra scent advantage when hunting from a pine tree. McGuire was filming Folk Rod on a stormy evening when a small doe walked in shortly before sunset. Watch her reaction to the scent post. Fresh urine placed on a dead log. After a quick smell, she settled in to eat apples. Pennsylvania allows a single deer per year, and Folk Rod had no intention of harvesting this doe. That afternoon, several of the others had seen deer.
About so big to get the shot through, and I shot, and I hit him, I think, in the heart. We got to go back and recover it, give him a little while to die.
Veteran California bow hunter Bob Long was telling his story when Folk Rod arrived back at camp with another group of hunters. There were now 2 blood trails to follow after a warm meal with storytelling.
Yeah, well, let's have some supper, we'll go back out. Yeah.
Here's your stand here, hey, Paul?
Yep.
Where's the deer at? It was right underneath this apple tree over here. The arrow's stuck right in the ground over here somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Yep, very fast, Joey.
What kind of blood does it look like?
Looks decent.
Yeah?
Looks decent. Still got the tracker on her. Let's just run the tracker out.
Okay.
Okay.
Went right around this tree.
There's some blood here right off the bat. You got some right on the bottom.
Got a good blood trail down through here.
Yeah.
There he is, right there. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Paul.
Yeah.
Right.
The fuck?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Paul, you
Looks like a 6,
sigh
eh?
of relief, man.
Hey,
All right. Five point. All right, Paul, huh?
Thanks. That's a heavy deer.
I didn't think he was that big. Very, very nice, eh?
Thanks.
Way to do it, Paul.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Good angle, eh? Good fat one.
this afternoon.
Yeah, for helping away with.
That's it. Who taught you how to do that? It's the dog leash I got from my dog. He taught me how to do it. Stuff that down.
Out they went with bow hunter Paul Geno's first Pennsylvania buck.
Kind of brisk one, yeah, it's beautiful morning. I'm glad it's been cold.
The following morning, Altizer and McGuire went with Bob Long on another recovery.
Yeah, I hate to push something, you know. Yeah. I think I hard shot him, but I hate to push it. There's a blood trail. Yeah, let's go pick up the arrows. Follow it out. I did hard shoot him. I told you I hit him in the heart. Yeah.
Another buck killed with its nose at a scent post. Far from home, Bob Long had been invited to this Pennsylvania camp after having been featured in a McGuire elk hunting video several weeks earlier.
Took out the heart with it.
Oh, I believe it.
Cut a nice hole.
It come through?
Yeah, it came through and through. And yeah, right at the bottom.
Both of the deer had been taken with perfect shots on the opening day of Pennsylvania deer season at Folk Rod's bow hunting camp.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Took out a lung.
Well, yes, it took his one lung out, went down through his liver.
Yeah.
Super.
You could really hear when it hit the...
McGuire was filming Folk Rod the next day during a steady freezing rain.
Check the second one for spikes.
You are about to see the response of a whitetail to an ammonia scent post placed on a rock beneath the tree. The smell of ammonia, or spoiled urine, has probably attracted many deer to their death. Watch the response when the first doe smells the rock. Although powerful and pungent odors sometimes work well in rainy weather, hunters may have to respond quickly before these super-scented animals get a solid whiff of the foul smell.
See if it had been a buck, I'd have killed it. It's right in front of us. Does are still looking at us right now. On bow line.
Either bow hunter could easily have killed the deer. McGuire and Altizer spend much time bow hunting and working together. One of their favorite experiences came from a successful mock scrape they hunted in 1986. Discovered by Altizer in the springtime, this natural licking branch had received attention all summer long. Finally, about a week prior to the hunting season, the buck visitation activity appeared to decrease. Although the hunters had found scattered scrapes and rubs in nearby woods, this location showed neither. For several days, the hunters had juiced up the branches and ground with the fresh urine. Still, no scraping here. As sometimes happens, the bucks continued to visit this licking branch location without scraping. Several hours later, this buck arrived at the branch and had a keen interest in the exact locations where Altizer had earlier placed the fresh urine. Once again, watch the exact branches where Altizer deposits scent and observe the response of a deer to fresh urine. On the left, the deer will nuzzle the very branches where Altizer, on the right, placed his scent several hours earlier. This video was sponsored in part by Golden Eagle Archery, manufacturers of high-quality archery and hunting products.